Hello, my delicious co-creators. It's Lilou. I'm in Lausanne, in Switzerland, with Julia. Hello, Julia. Hello, Lilou. Thank you for accepting this interview, which is not an ordinary one. It's actually quite extraordinary what we're going to talk about. John of God, Joao de Deus, who is in Brazil, and with whom many of us have heard about, but you have really lived in these past 10 years because you've accompanied people there in Brazil. Yes, since 10 years I accompany people to Brazil to do 4 to 5 trips a year, and I just returned from my 46th trip there 5 days ago. So what happens there? Because we have heard a lot about it, and we have heard about this phenomenon that happens in Brazil, of those miraculous healings that are scary for some, that many question. So I'm curious, before I go to Brazil, to know what happens there and who is this man? Who is this man? He is a healer who has received this gift when he was 16 years old. So it has been now more than 50 years, as I believe. He is more than 70 now. He is in Abadiânia, a small village in the heart of Brazil, 1.5 hours from Brasilia, and it's extraordinary what happens there, really. I accompany people there for 2-3 weeks, stay, and we discover Brazil, healing. It's a place where love reigns. One discovers love there, and the only thing that people think about deeply is to come back, because it's magnificent. How does this healing happen? Because I know some people personally have returned from there and who talks about the visible and invisible operation. There is entities who help him. I mean, this experience could sound completely surreal and extraordinary to many, so I would really like you to detail this experience. There's effectively some visible and invisible operation. They often say that invisible operation are those for people that do not believe, that need proof, deep proof within that something has happened. Because when you have an invisible operation, for the majority of people who are in the room, you are asked to close your eyes, to elevate your thoughts to God, and you maybe stay in the room for 10 minutes or in even an hour and a half, sometimes an hour. And then the healer comes and has a deep voice and say, with the grace of God, everybody is operated. And you say, what? I didn't feel anything. Or maybe you just felt a slight light pitching or nothing at all, and you think it is all very strange. Then they ask you to go back to the posada, the hotel, and go back to bed for 24 hours, like in a hospital after a real operation, really. Some people after can feel really sick. They can have fever for 3 days or nothing at all. But it is very strange what happens, as one can't foresee the reaction one will have. I know people who have been sick for 1 week after an invisible operation, and they can also be external or internal scarring that can manifest after the operation. For the visible operation, how does it work? The visible operation, there are some classic visible ones, like scraping of the eyes, but not because you have something wrong in the eyes, although you also can, but maybe something wrong in your stomach or in your knee. Then there is the scissors in the nose, or he cuts on the breast, or he removes tumors, or many other things. And then he takes needles and thread, and he sews back. People are anesthetized spiritually. They also feel nothing. Some people feel a bit more, some a bit less, and there's very little bleeding. But it is only according to the will of the people who ask for the visible apparition that they will receive one. It is never Joao that will take one or say, now you have to have a visible apparition. Some people are very scared of the visible apparition. It's quite impressive, really. And how does he do it? I heard of some spectacular results. For some others, it could be really scary. So people are scared when it happens? Yes, there's some spectacular results, and there's some operation that are not real operation, where Joao will take the cane, for example, of a person and will throw it and tell the person, now you walk. And then they will do one step, two steps, then faster. They will go further and back and forth. There was only one person who was in my group who walked with a cane since years. He threw his cane on the stage, and in front of everybody, he asked me to walk with him for 200 meters so that the energy could stabilize itself, and he could no longer need his cane. And you accompany people who suffer from cancer and serious illness? Yes. All very serious illness, and they say they are 80–90% of the people that are healed there, which is really huge, but I can also say that not everyone is healed. The only thing I can almost guarantee is that the change in people, there are things that change, people change completely their life. Are some people disappointed? No, not that I know. One believe in a miracle and just it doesn't happen there? Maybe, yeah, maybe. It can happen. Miracles might happen much later, for example. There was a woman with us who had multiple sclerosis and came for 2 weeks, and she was very disappointed when she returned home because nothing had changed. She still had a surge of MS. I saw a friend of hers many months later, I believe 8 months later, and she said, Julia, it's a miracle. She is much better. She's basically healed. So the healing took place months and months, even years later. Is there some self-healing involved? Yes, yes, greatly so, because the entities help us change something in our lives, because the disease did not come all by itself. There's something we have done, we took the wrong direction mainly, and the entity help us change the way we think. Maybe change our nutrition, and maybe other things, so that people can change. Everyone says there is a before Abadiânia and after Abadiânia. And what happens? Who are these entities? There are beings of light who have lived 100, 200, 300 years ago, often doctors, clergy, men, who further their education and who perform extraordinary operations. There's José Valdevino, Dr. Augusto, Dom Ignacio de Loyola, of course, who is the patron of the Casa, and who comes very rarely through Joao, as his energy has become so powerful that Joao can't contain him for so long, otherwise he bleeds through his nose. He can't hold him too long, otherwise he bleeds through his nose. And the last day of July of 2012, I will be there with a group, and it will be the birthday of Dom Ignacio de Loyola, and the energy is incredible. Last year I was there also, and I've never seen Joao in such a state. His eyes were popping out of its sockets. The moment he prepared to receive the energy, his eyes were popping out of his sockets. One had to hold him. There was such energy. Some people around fainted. The energy was extraordinary. What allows that? Is it channeling? Does he channels? What does one call this type of phenomena? No, it's an entity that enters in him, and Joao basically gets out of the body. He is a trance medium. He is not conscious of what he says, he does. He doesn't know anything. This is why they film everything, so he can watch it later. He said once that I could tell you so many great stories, but I can't because I don't know what happens. He doesn't know. He borrows his body. Yes, he borrows his body when he does visible operation. Once he covered his eyes and performed a delicate operation of the eyes and said, yes, you see, I don't need to my eyes. The entities use my hand and do the operation. So many times when he is doing the scraping of the eye, he looks after as he works. It is beautiful to watch. And you experienced the first time? My first experience, I was not sick. I went as a therapist, as I was interested. All these phenomena interest me, and it was a very strong inner voice that told me, come, come. I thought, but no, I'm not even sick. Why would I go there for? Finally, it was stronger than me. I bought my plane ticket and I left. There, everything I had worked on myself as a therapist came back to the surface. It's like a real washing machine effect with pre-wash, main wash, and everything one wants. I bombarded the entity with questions. Every time I tried to go in front of people to ask a question, he answered me, just told me, go to meditate, but I couldn't meditate because my head was spinning. And one day I asked myself, but what am I doing here with all these sick people? Where am I? Why am I here? And the same inner voice who had told me to come told me, you will bring people here. I said, no, that's not my thing. I already have plans and a ticket to go to India to see my future ex-guru, as I call him. And I said, no, it's not what I want to do. So I told myself, well, I will go in front of the entity in any case. He does not want to answer me. So I passed in front of the entity a day later and I asked him, do I have to bring people here? And for the first time he held my hand and looked me straight and said, yes, that's what you will do. So I thought, okay then. Wow, I returned home and met people to bring. And it all started from there. I let everything else go, my practice, and I never went back to India as I had no more time, and now I do this since 11 years. And John of God, it's been 40 years he does this? How did this happen to me? He's not that young, yeah? No, as I said, he's been doing this for more than 50 years. He is 70 or more, I believe. When he was 16, the entities told him to do this and to accept this mission, and he accepted this mission. He is not allowed to take money, so he heals everybody for free. In the beginning, he had everyone against him, of course, the medical community in Brazil. It is very expensive to study to become a doctor. The church was against him, as he wants to know who performs miracles and who doesn't. So he was put in jail. I don't know how many times, attacked, prison, and so on. But nonetheless, in Brazil, it's easier to do this, to perform operation, as a notion of entities exists there, and it is very strong. Here in Switzerland or in France or elsewhere, I think it's not possible. He is actually coming to Switzerland for the first time this year in July, but in the same way as when he came last year to Vienna or Germany. He can't perform visible operation, only invisible operation, as its entities, the beings of light, who in the same room can do up to 9 different operations. Yes. At the same time. Yes, at the same time. It's very intimate. And did his work evolve as you've been going for 10, 11 years? You've seen things already there. More and more people have heard of him. Quite a lot of televisions went there, yes. It has evolved quite a lot the past 10 years. I would say that in the beginning, even before 15 years ago, people told me there was a lot of wheelchair and crutches that were being thrown out. He would do a lot of visible operation, one after the other. Now he does less visible operation, and his work has become much more subtle than before. He works much more on the mind and the emotions. And this is an extraordinary work that the entities do. Often one does not realize when one is there. One sees only the top of the iceberg, but all that is beneath is one become more conscious of all that happens then once say, wow, it's extraordinary, it's more than extraordinary. What did it teach you on life, on what's possible in reality? Well, everything, because in Abadiânia, one can really encounter the invisible world, and one can no longer close one's eye and say, no, it doesn't exist. One knows it exists, one can feel, basically see, day after day there. It's magnificent. I can say that it's the only place. I was a lot in India in ashrams, but that's the only place where I found the energy so powerful, so strong. I have not found another place like this. I would say that is close to God. And he consults twice a week? No, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, morning and afternoons, 3 times a week. Certain people say, yes, but what does one do the rest of the week? And I can tell you that one is very, very tired because our body needs a lot of energy to adapt to the energies of the Casa there, to the energies of Abadiânia. Often I go to bed at 8 p.m. and the others as well. At 9 p.m. I believe you do not see anyone in the streets because one needs to sleep, our bodies needs to sleep. But on the other 4 days with the group, I do a lot of things. We do excursions, and there's beautiful hills there on a high plateau at almost 1,200 meters of altitude. And one can go for walks, relax, and even stay in hammock. What is interesting is that the village apparently is not beautiful at all. Often the sacred and the beauty mixed, and one feels things, but this is not even the case. It's not even a beautiful place. No, I often say that the village of Abadiânia is not magnificent. I have traveled around Brazil and I've seen charming small villages, but Abadiânia is not beautiful. But there is an energy there, and many people say, I feel like I have come home. It's like we have entered, we have found, it always says it's like our soul has found something there. And one finds love again there. Everything is immersed in love. It's extraordinary. People meet themselves. A woman told me recently, you know, Julia, what I found there is that for the first time in my life, I start to love myself. And there's many avenues. I mean, this is one that awakens your passion and you bring people there. But once more, I say that that is why I carry out all these interviews. This is why. This is up to you to make your choice, to resonate, to listen, to try to travel to test, maybe even feel it's a personal choice, one that one feels like doing or not. One has a calling to do it or not, that's it. Yes, rightly so. It is a calling in the end, and for me the calling was very strong. I could not do otherwise, and for many people who call me and who tell me, Julia, I have to go there, but I don't know why. And I can accompany many people who are not sick, who have small problems, therapists, sometimes doctors who are curious. Recently there was actually a couple of doctors, not in my group, but I met them, who were always there meditating, and every time the entity would say, is there a doctor in the room? Come and check patients before and after. I find this good because the entity, through Joao, always wants to include traditional medicine, and often he says, no, you could go home and make some tests at the hospital, you will heal through that avenue, even if the entities are always here to help you. Even septics come out of it amazed. I have accompanied quite a few septics who said, no, I just came to accompany my wife, but I'm an intellectual and all this, the entities, is not my cup of tea. They change completely. Yes, they've changed completely in this regard. That can scare some, what you just said, but thank you for your testimony. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thanks, it's Julia. Thank you, Julia. We're in Lausanne talking of John of God. You also did this DVD. I will show it now in French. Who Heals? Is that it? Yes, Who Heals is someone, Herbert Roy and Fancion Caladier. Both came last year, and they asked me to help them to make this film. It's a very good movie, a documentary on spiritual healing. Does one see image of all this? Not too many physical operation. That could be a little bit scary, but it's a very, very good documentary film. Thank you. A big kiss to you, all my delicious co-creators in Lausanne.